Now, looking at the last question from this one here, they say, which will be the first term of the sequence to have a numerator, which is less than negative 59. Now, with sequences and series, what is important is for us to try and read the given statements to our understanding. They say here, which will be the first term of the sequence to have a numerator which is less than negative 59. It's like asking a person a question, or a group of learners a question, to say, which learner will be older than Thabo, or which learner will be older than Thabo in terms of age. So the first question will be, how old is Thabo, for us to be able to identify the first learner to be older. Because if Thabo is 20 years, the first learner to be older than Thabo will be 21 years old. Now this question is exactly the same. We say, which will be the first term of the sequence to have a numerator which is less than negative 59. So which means we need to establish first the position of negative 59. Whether negative 59 is term number 5, term number 7, or term number 100. We just need to establish that first. In other words, in this case, with the sequence of numerators, we are going to consider negative 59 to be our Tn, our nth term, just to find its position. And then we take it from there. Now, the general term that we found for the sequence of numerators, if you still remember, is Tn equals negative 3n plus 5. So we are going to use that. We are going to say here, for numerators, we have Tn equals negative 3n plus 5. And then we determine the position of negative 59. So we say negative 59 is equal to negative 3n plus 5. Now, before I even work this exercise out, I must indicate to you that n, the value of n, can never be negative. N can never be a fraction or a decimal. N cannot be this. N cannot be negative because we cannot talk about negative 5 number of people, because it deals with number of terms. So we cannot have negative number of terms, or we cannot have 0.5 number of terms. It's like we cannot have saying, if we have 10 people in the room and 1 baby, we cannot say we have 10 adults and 1 baby. We cannot say that. But we will say we have 11 people in the room. So n cannot be negative, and n cannot be a fraction or a decimal. Now, coming back here, we are going to solve for n here. So we are going to take 5 to the, or we can take negative 3n to the left hand side and negative 59 to the right hand side. So we are going to have 3n equals 59 plus 5. And we therefore have 3n is equal to 59 plus 5 is equal to 64. So we are going to have 3n to be equal to 64. We then divide both sides by 3. And n, if you divide 64 by 3, you will get a fraction, which is 64 over 3, or as a decimal, it gives us 21.3 recurring. But remember what I said then. The number of terms cannot be a fraction or cannot be a decimal. So we were just checking the position. Now, what we are going to do, because we're looking for the first value that is going to be less than negative 59, we are going to check first with the whole number 21. Substitute with it in the given general term. So we are going to say, here, Tn equals negative 3n plus 5. Remember, we found 21.3 recurring. So we test with 21. So it means we are going to write 21 in the place of n, and this is equal to negative 3 into 21 plus 5. And this here will give us, we use a calculator, we don't want to make mistakes. So we say negative 3 multiplied by 21, and that gives us negative 63 plus 5, which is equal to negative 63 plus 5. Negative 63 plus 5 will give us negative 58. Right. So we also check with 22. 21.3, we can also check with 22 because we want the first value to be less than negative 59. Now, if I may ask for interest sake, is negative 58 greater or smaller than negative 59? Keep that in mind while I do this one. Now, if we test with term number 22, it means we are going to have negative 3, and then in the place of n we write 22, and then we have plus 5. And this here is equal to, we use a calculator again, we say negative 3 multiplied by 22, and that gives us negative 66 plus 5. And this here gives us negative 66 plus 5, and this is equal to negative 61. Now, for us to know which number between negative 51 and negative 61 is the first to be less than negative 59, we just make a simple example of a number line. We say here, looking at this number line closely, if we ask ourselves which number is bigger between 1 and 2, we will say the number is 2. And when you look at this number line, 2 is actually on the right of 1. So all numbers that are on the right of certain numbers are said to be bigger than those numbers that come before them. The same will apply with smaller number. We say 1, or we can even take 0. We can say 0 here is less than 2 because 0 is on the left of 2. The same with negative 59 and these other numbers. Remember, on the number line, we will have negative 58 coming first, then negative 59, negative 60, and negative 61. So when you look at negative 58, look at this negative 58 here. Negative 58 is on the right of negative 59. So it means negative 58 is bigger than negative 59. And therefore, negative 61 in this case will be the first number to be less than negative 51 in this sequence here. So in our conclusion, we therefore say, therefore, term number 22 is the first, right? Term number 52, you just write that statement, is the first term of the sequence to have a numerator which is less than negative 59. You will write that. That conclusion is very important because they said which will be the term, which will be the first term of the sequence to have a numerator which is less than negative 59. So that will be negative 61, which is term number 22. So which means we can also say negative 61 is the first term to be less than negative 59 in our numerator. That is how we answered it. So the most important thing was for us to establish first where in the sequence do we find negative 59. And we realized that it is somewhere between 21 and 22. That is why we tested with 21 and 22. Right, I hope you found that question to be interesting.